Are you a first-time homebuyer in Canada and you're wondering where to start? With the constantly changing market and complex rules, it can certainly feel overwhelming. I know it was for me when I bought my first home, so today I'll share 5 essential mistakes that you must avoid to save yourself time, money, and stress as you navigate the real estate market this year. So mistake number 1 is not getting pre-approved for a mortgage. So before you start shopping for homes in person, talk to a mortgage specialist and get your pre-approval on paper. Knowing your budget up front will help you save time and help you focus on homes within your actual price range. The last thing you want to do is go out and look for homes, say, in the $600,000 price range, when in actuality, you're gonna be pre-approved for $500,000. So get that pre-approval before you go out and look at homes. And the pre-approval can also give you a competitive advantage when making offers in a fast-moving market. So if you have that on paper from your mortgage broker or your the lender, say your bank or credit union, have that on paper. You can submit that actually with your offer to say, hey, I've got this pre-approval already, and you could potentially beat out others that do not have their pre-approval or even that letter provided with the offer. So if you have questions or you're not quite sure where to start with getting the pre-approval, I can certainly help you, guide you in the right direction there. Simply shoot me a text message to the number on the screen and we can get started. Or if you'd like to set up a formal appointment, you can use the link in the description below. And next up, we have mistake number 2, and that's not understanding your down payment requirements. Now in Canada, if your purchase price is $500,000 or less, the down payment requirement is 5% or $25,000. If you're between $500,000 and now they've changed the rules, they've bumped it up to $1.5 million from $1 million. So you'll still pay 5% of the first $500,000 and then 10% over and above 500,000 up to 1.5 million, or it's actually 1.49999. So for instance, if you're looking at a $600,000 home, the down payment requirement would be $35,000. $25,000 on the first 5% of the first $500,000, $25,000, and then 10% from 500,000 to 600,000. So your down payment requirement there is 35,000. And if you're looking at, and you're fortunate enough as a first-time buyer looking at something over 1.5 million, now that price has jumped, or now that percentage is 20%. And don't forget, if you do have a down payment that's less than 20%, you do have to pay mortgage insurance, so CMHC, it's called. There's 3 different companies in Canada, but CMHC is the more well-known one. So you do have to pay mortgage insurance. Now that isn't over and above, it's not something extra that you have to save for. It's tacked on to your mortgage, so you do have to pay for it. But it's through your mortgage, it's not something that's part of your down payment. It's just, again, tacked on to your mortgage. Now, typically it's around 4% of the mortgage cost. So in this instance of 600,000 minus 35 for your down payment, your mortgage would be $565. 4% of that's around $22,000. So that would get tacked on to the $565. So don't forget that that does get tacked on, but you don't have to pay out of pocket for that up front. And on to mistake number 3, that would be not hitting the subscribe button first if you want to stay up to date on these videos. Now, the actual mistake number 3 here is not assessing your actual affordability. So that's building a budget to determine your monthly costs. Now, lenders do assess your credit history to determine the amount they'll lend you. So if you do have poor credit or you have lots of debt, that will limit what they will lend you. Having those high debts can reduce the amount that you're eligible to borrow. For instance, let's say you have a $500 car payment. It's around $100,000 in borrowing power for a mortgage. So let's say you and your partner both have $500 car payments. That's around $200,000 of borrowing power that you could potentially put towards a mortgage. So just be mindful of your debts when you are looking to get a home or you're looking to get a mortgage. Now do your best to reduce your debts before applying for a mortgage, as this could increase your borrowing power. This could mean the difference between a 1 versus a 2-bedroom condo. And on to mistake number 4. It's not taking advantage of the homebuyer programs that are out there. First, we have the First Home Savings Account. You can contribute up to $8,000 annually, tax-free. There's a lifetime contribution of $40,000 for that account, and the funds must be used to build or buy your first home. Next is the Home Buyers Plan. This is the one that uses your RRSPs. So it allows you to withdraw from your RRSPs tax-free. The withdrawal limit is $60,000 per person. So if you and your partner both have, let's say, up to the limit of $60,000, that's a potential of $120,000 that could be going towards a down payment. And the amount borrowed from those RRSPs must be repaid back into the RRSPs in 15 years. To keep them eligible for being tax-free. And lastly, we have the property transfer tax exemption. So the program offers full or partial exemptions on the property transfer tax. There are certain criteria that you'd have to qualify for, and that is laid out on the government's website. And savings can range from a few $100s to several $1,000s. For example, if you did purchase say a $500,000 home, that's $8,000 in savings, as that how much property transfer tax you would have to pay if you didn't qualify for this program. So I highly recommend you do your own research on those programs to help you save money on your first home. And mistake number 5, not planning for additional costs. Now again, that property transfer tax you may be exempt for, but just in case you're not, it's a good thing to first look into and then save for over and above your down payment. And the next one is the lawyer or notary fees. I would recommend saving, a lawyer is going to be more expensive than notary, but if you have $2,000 to $3,000 saved for those fees, it's a good thing to have there. Property inspections, home insurance, property tax adjustments, strata fees if they do apply if you're buying a condo or a townhouse. Any moving costs, if you're moving across the country, that can be quite expensive. Move-in fees for condos. I just helped a client move into a condo, and the move-in fees, which included the move-out fees when she moves, was $400. So, that's another expense there. Usually it's around $100, but hers included the move-out fee, so it was $400. But that was, a big surprise there. Utility setups and utility bills. So right now you may not even have utility bills, so make sure you plan for those additional monthly costs as well. And lastly is GST, if it is applicable. So for example, the most common one would be if you're purchasing a brand new property, 5% GST will apply to the purchase price. And a good rule of thumb is to save between 1.5% and 2% of the purchase price, or more if, again, you're moving across the country or other fees and things do apply. But a good rule of thumb is saving 1.5% to 2% of the purchase price of the property. And those are 5 mistakes that you should avoid when purchasing your first home. Now, if you are looking to buy your first home in Canada or in British Columbia or in my market of Kelowna, you can book an appointment with me in the first link in the description below. I can either set you up with an agent in your area, or if you're looking in my area of Kelowna or the Okanagan, I'd love to help you out. First link below in the description. And if you're wondering what it costs to live in the Kelowna area, check out these videos here.